Everybody, whoever is watching our live, let me know your questions or your comments or your information or feedback in the comments. I'm waiting for you. I just starting my recording of live videos today, so I will appreciate and like your support. So let me know from where you are watching our live, which country, which city, or which region. I'm always waiting your comments. I'm always appreciating your support. So thank you very much for your support. Let me know from where you are watching. Somebody is watching our live now. So let me know your country, your region, your city, so that we can have some chat, some talking, some kind of friendship, you can say. Anyway, if you are not asking any questions, I am gonna read some latest news of today to feed my live. Today is the 19th of August 2026. 19th of August 2026. The weather is hot here in Dubai. I'm here in Dubai and the weather is really very hot. And this is the last month after exactly after 1 month, end of the next month, the the weather will be very nice, very good. So we have to wait for more 1 month for the weather to be cooled down. Anyway, now we are just opening Khalij Times. Khalij Times is the official newspaper from Dubai and UAE. So Khalij Times, it says that in a straightforward statement on Wednesday, Dr. Anwar Gargash, the advisor to UAE President, denied cancellation of labor residencies and the provision of financial facilities to Iran. The top diplomat said that what using? Okay, are using desperate media campaigns to target the UAE and are circulating false information about the country. Okay, this he is coming at a time when the nation is focusing its efforts on addressing regional developments and preparing for the post phase period. 7 people are watching our live. Just let me know from where you are watching. You want to ask any questions, you can ask me anything. I am here in Dubai. So I'm reading the news from Khalij Times. If you are not asking any questions, so I have to read the news to feed my life. 10 people are now watching. Let me know your questions, your feedback. 16 people are now watching. You are all welcome. You are all welcome from all over the nations, from all over the world, from any region, any country. You are welcome. And we are just reading the news from Khalij Times. He asserted the rumors being spread, such as those related to the cancellation of labor residencies or the provision of financial facilities to Iran and others, are untrue. The official also clarified that the UAE believes that the best way to deal with such claims is through work and showing tangible achievements on ground. UAE detects 2 missiles from Iran, suspends trade. Send me your questions or your feedback in the comments, please. I'm waiting your comments. UAE detects. I'm here in Dubai. I'm waiting your comments. You can ask me any question about the breads. The breads fan hub. Hi, how are you? In which country you are watching our live? We are in Dubai. Dubai International. Today is 19 August of 2026 and the weather is really hot, but we are still enjoying. The Brad's Fan Hub. Please let me know from which country you are watching, or any information you want to ask about Dubai, about me, about anything. You are welcome. So after over a month, the UAE detected two missiles. Yes, in Dubai. Yeah, I'm also in Dubai. I'm also in Dubai, Dubai International. It's very hot here today. But anyway, the weather is start changing these days, and after more 10 days, this month will be over, and then the weather will start cooling down. Yes, bye bye. After over a month, the UAE detected two missiles from Iran targeting maritime navigation. A few hours later, in the early hours of Wednesday, the US suspended all trade and financial transactions with Iran until further notice, in light of the regional conflict. The director of the Strategic Communication Department of the Ministry. Hi, Acorn, how are you? Acorn, from where you are watching our live? Let me know, please. Acorn, where are you now? The director of Strategic Communication Department at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in UAE, Afra Al Hamili, rejected. ZXC, welcome. Hi, welcome. Rejected all allegations regarding the status of economic relationship between UAE and Iran. You can send me your country name, your Habibi. Hi, Habibi, how are you? Ananda Krishna, welcome. Ananda Krishna, from where you are watching our live, please let me know. I'm just recording first video here in this channel because I need to go fast. I need to move forward to monetize my channel because I was a little bit slow. So this is my first video recording here on this channel. Please let me know from where you are watching. Ananda Krishna, welcome, 767. The US Ministry of Foreign Affairs has also in a separate statement stressed the need for Iran to halt these unprovoked attacks, ensure its full commitment to an immediate end of all hostilities, and the complete and unconditional reopening of the Strait of Hormuz to safeguard regional security and maintain the stability of the global economy and trade. So this is news from Khalij Times. We are just waiting comments from our viewers. So let's see the next news, also from Khalij Times. The next news is 10.5-second warning. How US emergency alerts. Only 10-second warning. US suspend all trades and financial transactions with Iran. Trump calls Hormuz new US territory. 3 countries he declared American. What is this? Trump is always making nonsense statements. So Trump calls Hormuz new US territory. 3 countries he declared American in 2026. The Strait of Hormuz is a vital waterway that falls within the territorial waters of Iran and Oman, connecting the Arabian Gulf to the Gulf of Oman. Editor's note: for the latest updates on US-Iran hostilities since a 14-point MOU expired on August 17, follow the Khalij Times. On August 15, US President Trump shocked the world by saying he would soon finish defeating Iran and declare the Strait of Hormuz part of American soil soon. Four days later, he published a map that refers to the strategic waterway as a new US territory. New US territory. Wow. Hormuz is a vital waterway which falls within the territorial waters of Iran and Oman, connecting the Arabian Gulf to the Gulf of Oman. The southern coastline of Hormuz passes through Oman, while the northern coastline of the strait belongs to Iran, a territory heavily patrolled by its revolutionary guards. Around 21 million barrels of oil and more than one-fifth of global LNG trade pass through the Strait of Hormuz. making the waterway one of the world's most critical energy choke points. Send me, send me, send me your questions in the comments, please. Trump has repeatedly said that the key energy strait, which Tehran effectively closed, at the start of the US-Israel-Iran war, is under US control, an assertion the Islamic Republic denies. His recent claim, which comes 2 days after the 14-point MOU with Iran expired, represents the first time he called the strategic corridor a US territory. But it is not the first time the US president has said that other parts of the world are part of the United States. Here is a look at the countries and regions which Trump called a part of the US. In January, Trump told the New York Post in an interview that the US will gain sovereignty over areas of Greenland where American military bases are located. Trump has said repeatedly that he wants to acquire Greenland, possibly by purchasing it from Denmark, despite the US allies' repeated insistence that it is not for sale. He appeared to rule out military force as a means of taking the Arctic island, saying that he had secured a deal with NATO to guarantee US access to Greenland. Greenland covers about 2.16 million square kilometers, making it the biggest island on Earth, larger than many countries. Australia does not count here because it's considered a continent, leaving Greenland in a category of its own, vast icy and sparsely inhabited. Venezuela. Next is Venezuela. In May, Trump posted a map that shows a part of the South American continent while labeling the state of Venezuela as 51st state and covering it with the American flag. On January 3, the US carried out a daring mission to capture Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and his wife. Elite US troops, including the Army's Delta Force, created an exact replica of Maduro's safe house and practiced how they would enter the strongly fortified residence. Maduro was transferred to the US, where he is facing criminal proceedings in New York. Canada. Next is Canada. Trump has more than once called for the US neighbor to become the 51st American state, while claiming the US pays hundreds of billions of dollars to subsidize Canada. Apparently referring to the US trade deficit with its neighbor, Trump said, without the massive subsidy, Canada ceases to exist as a viable country. Therefore, Canada could become our cherished 51st state, he wrote on his Truth social media platform, claiming the move would bring much lower taxes and far better military protection for the people of Canada and no tariffs. Trump is always making nonsense statements. On Tuesday, Trump paused a planned rollout of planned rollout of punishing new tariffs on Canada goods, as both sides indicated they were close to a broader trade agreement after weeks of talks. The 3-day reprieve from 50% duties on selected goods come just hours before a midnight deadline. Okay, let's see the next news. Next news from Khaleej Times is what's going on. I need to change my mobile because this mobile is hanging for some time. Anyway, so the next news is Dubai International Holy Quran Award receives 20,500 applications from all over the world. Okay, the next is uh, let's see the next news from Dawn News. Let's see the Dawn News. Dawn News is a what do you say? Dawn News is a credible newspaper from Pakistan. So let's see what it says. Dawn News. It says the NATO is prepared to address any threat. Official says amid reports of Iran weighing strikes on US military targets in Europe. Okay, let's see this news. NATO vows to defend allies amid reported Iranian threats to US targets in Europe. NATO is prepared to address any threat and will always do what is necessary to defend all allies. A NATO official said in response to questions about a report in the Financial Times that Iran has allegedly weighed attacking US military targets in Europe should Donald Trump escalate the war. Demonstrated earlier this year when NATO air defense successfully intercepted ballistic missiles heading to Turkey from Iran to 4 separate occasions. Our deterrence and defense posture is strong and effective. Overnight, Israeli strikes target Lebanon's Ali Al Tahrir Hill. Overnight, Israeli strikes have targeted the Ali Al Tahrir Hill area in Lebanon's Nabati district. This is key. What is key? Devile, let me know what is key. This is key. So, the agency shared a photo appearing to show an explosion in the area but did not report any casualties. Earlier, I know every news. Okay, you know every news, but we need the news to read the news to feed our life actually. If nobody is asking any questions, I have to read the news because YouTube needs now commentary. Let it be, it wouldn't happen to you. Okay, you are welcome. Because YouTube is asking now with facing camera and commentary, real commentary, no AI, no other, what is this? No AI, no machine generating, no faceless. That's why we need some commentary. So what to do? Let's read the news. Let it be, it won't happen to you. Yes, of course. You are welcome. Please let me know from where you are watching our live, which country, which city, which region. You are welcome. Let us have some chat here in YouTube. Send me your questions or your feedback in the comments. I'm waiting. So Rubio highlights State of Hormuz security in call with UAE official. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has spoken with the UAE National Security Advisor Sheikh Tanoon bin Zayed Al Nahyan to discuss key regional security issues. State Department. During the call, Rubio underscored the importance of freedom of navigation through the Strait of Hormuz. The two officials also addressed the situation in Lebanon and discussed ongoing joint efforts to hold Iran and its proxy groups accountable for continued attacks. I'm waiting your comments, your questions. Former Iranian leader Khatami rejected calls for conflict with US. Former Iranian President Mohammad Khatami has warned that some in Iran believe the nation's life and survival lie in war, openly questioning the logic behind that stance. Al Jazeera reports, Iranian news agency. Some say, first we will teach America a lesson here, then we will go to the heart of America and fight it there. But what reality is this based on? Khatami said. My feelings were also wounded when they killed our commander, and one's eyes could almost be blood. But governing a society cannot be based on raw emotions. We must consider what serves the ultimate interest of the country, the system, and the Islam. Oil hits 3-week high on uncertainty over Hormuz. Let me see some. I'm waiting your feedback, your comments. Let me know from where you're watching. Which country, which city, or which region. We are here in Dubai. I'm just new here on this channel and I'm recording my first live here. It's the first live recording here on YouTube Live. So I may make some mistakes, but anyway, we have to complete our recording. So finally we are now indoor because outdoor is little high temperature. Anyway, whoever is watching, send me your feedback in the comments. Otherwise, we are reading from the Dawn News now. Dawn News is a credible newspaper from Pakistan. It says that Kalibab says Islamic countries in the region should go after cooperation. In phone call with Turkish Foreign Minister, Dar confirms his participation in the upcoming R4 meeting. Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister of Pakistan Ishaq Dar has held a phone call with Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan, with the two leaders exchanging views on recent regional developments, according to the Foreign Office. Okay, the next news. Iran's armed forces warn Gulf countries against assisting US military. Iran's armed forces have warned Gulf countries against assisting the US military, saying it would be tantamount to joining American military operations. Iran rejects UAE claims of missile launch. US UAE discuss regional security, Strait of Hormuz. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio spoke by phone with UAE National Security Advisor Sheikh Tanoon bin Zayed Al Nahyan about regional security, the State Department said. The two discussed a number of regional security issues, including Lebanon, as well as continued US UAE coordination to hold Iran and its terrorist proxies accountable for ongoing attacks, the department said in a statement. During the call, Rubio underscored the importance of freedom of navigation through the Strait of Hormuz. Israeli forces conduct overnight shelling in southern Lebanon. The US and Iran must realize that the Islamabad MOU still offers the best framework for peace. So apprehensions regarding the fresh round of US-Iran hostilities are palpable, as a 60-day window for negotiation envisaged under the Islamabad MOU expire on Monday, with no forward movement on the diplomatic front. In fact, Tehran disputes the characterization of the 60-day window as a deadline, with Iran's foreign ministry spokesman saying it was only a framework to facilitate talks. Meanwhile, the noises coming out of Washington are not reassuring at all. US President Trump has asked Iran to put up the white flag of surrender, while also threatening to bomb his ally Oman if it gets in the way. Oman is currently negotiating with Iran to resolve the Strait of Hormuz crisis. Mr. Trump's latest pronouncement has been to declare the strait a new US territory. Such unhinged Trumpian antics have made it particularly difficult for America to exercise itself from a quagmire of its own making. Okay, next. Trump appears to repeatedly contradict top advisors on Iran war. Trump drill cut appeared aimed at pressuring Seoul over South Korea, minister says. We already recorded 25 minutes, almost we are reaching half an hour, and the remaining will be half an hour more. So 1 hour, our target is to record 1 hour videos at least, minimum. Oil edges up on uncertainty over exports. through Hormuz. Oil prices ticked higher in early trade, climbing for a fourth straight day on supply uncertainty as investors weighed conflicting messages from Tehran and Washington on whether the Strait of Hormuz is open to ships. Iraq approves 3-month mechanism to export crude via local.
Excuse me, where is the metro station?
Upside, just go.
Upside?
Just
There only I'll get the new card, right?
yes, everything. Go from here. Go from.
From here?
There is an elevator.
Okay. Here,
Yeah,
outside.
escalator. Yes. So Iraq approves 3-month mechanism to export. Iraq approves 3-month mechanism to export crude via local international funds. Iraq's cabinet has approved mechanisms for exporting Iraqi crude through specialized international and local companies and via multiple export outlets, Reuters reports, citing the government. The contracts under the new mechanism will run for 3 months starting September 1. According to a statement issued after the cabinet meeting, Iraq is seeking to diversify its oil export channels and maintain flexibility in marketing its crude amid the Iran war and the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, which has disrupted regional oil flows and created uncertainty around shipping routes. Iraq has worked to develop alternative export routes in Iraq has worked to develop alternative export routes in addition to its traditional southern terminals, including routes through Turkey and Syria, as it seeks to reduce reliance on Gulf shipping routes. The government did not immediately provide details on the companies to be selected, the volumes to be exported under the mechanism, or the specific export outlets covered by the contracts. I'm waiting your comments. Iran rejects US statement on missiles launch. Iran has said its ambassador met 4 nationals detained in Kuwait. Iran ambassador to Kuwait met 4 Iranian nationals who have been detained in Kuwait for 3 months. Iranian state media quoted Iran's embassy in Kuwait as saying a few days after an Iranian military official accused Kuwait of withholding information about their fate. The Iranian embassy in Kuwait said in a post on X that the ambassador was informed about the health and the latest situation of the 4. Iran said in May that 4 men affiliated with the Revolutionary Guards had been on a maritime patrol before entering Kuwaiti territorial waters because of navigation disruption. Kuwait said the 4 were suspected of planning hostile actions against the country. UAE says all trade, commercial exchanges, financial transactions with Iran halted. Minab school tragedy, most important reason for America, Zionist regime's defeat, Iran's first vice president. Iran's first vice president, Mohammad Reza Arif, says that the Minab school tragedy was perhaps the most important reason for the defeat of America and the Zionist regime. The enemy has no justification for this crime, and the silence of human rights advocates against the crimes of the Zionist regime and the US in Gaza and Iran left a lasting scandal for Western civilization. Senior Iranian officials welcome post-US order in Middle East mocks Trump's claim that Hormuz is American territory. Secretary of Iran's Supreme National Security Council Mohsen Razai has mocked President Trump's claim that the Strait of Hormuz is American territory. The gap between America's inability to reopen the Strait of Hormuz and its claims to own it is greater than the 7,000-mile distance between Washington and the strait itself. He write on X, welcome to the post-American order in the Persian Gulf. Welcome to the post-American order in the Persian Gulf. Clean up the mess you made. Caliber takes swipe at US Haxet and Besant. 2 missiles launched towards the UAE from Iran Defense Ministry. The UAE, United Arab Emirates Defense Ministry says that two missiles were launched at it from Iran, according to a statement. It says that both missiles fell in water, with the first falling outside the UAE's territorial waters and the second within. The Ministry of Defense confirmed that it is on high alert and fully prepared to deal with any threats and to firmly confront anything aimed at undermining the security of the state, thereby ensuring the preservation of its sovereignty, security, and stability, and protecting its interests and national capabilities. Qatar says Iran open to review search and rescue operation for missing pilots. Qatar says the invitation to Tehran is open to review details about search and rescue operations for three missing Iranian pilots who were reportedly captured by Doha after being shot down earlier this year. In a statement from the Foreign Ministry, Doha expressed surprise at the claim made by Iranian media, calling them with spokesperson Dr. Majid Ali Ansari. What's going on here? So we recorded half an hour, and the remaining is half an hour more. 850,000 displaced Lebanese return home, but crisis far from over. Arakchi says notion of a weak Iran has been dispelled. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Arakchi says the perception of Iran being a weak country has been completely dispelled, semi-official news agency Tasnim reported. The outlet quotes him as arguing that Tehran's post-war foreign policy will be fundamentally different from the period before the conflict. He adds the US-Israel war demonstrated Iran's resilience and changed the international perception of the country, noting that the US and Israel have failed to achieve any of the objectives they pursued, such as regime change and unconditional surrender and internal unrest. US forces load cargo helicopter at Middle East airfield. HRW says UN must keep peacekeepers in Lebanon. Human Rights Watch has called on the United Nations to keep an international force in Lebanon after its peacekeepers' mandate ends this year. In August last year, the UN Security Council, under US pressure, decided to end UNIFIL's mandate on December 31, 2026, pulling the plug on UNIFIL without a robust international force in place would effectively abandon millions of Lebanese civilians to an uncertain and potentially disastrous fate. The peacekeeper, the peacekeepers are a crucial deterrent against attacks on civilians and human rights abuses. Human Rights Watch urges the UN to extend peacekeeping force mandate until the security situation has improved sufficiently to consider further reducing the force. Iranian Foreign Minister says US begging for talks on Tehran's terms. Iran's claim of Qatar holding pilots is media ploy, says Foreign Ministry spokesperson. Trump insists no talks ongoing with Iran, no more mines in Strait of Hormuz. UAE President exchanges views on regional developments in call with Trump. Qatar slams attacks targeting officials in Iraqi Kurdistan. Qatar has condemned attacks on the office of Iraqi Kurdistan regional prime minister and the residence of the head of Erbil Governorate Security and Intelligence Agency, calling them a flagrant violation of the sovereignty of both Iraq and the Kurdistan region. Doha's foreign ministry has stressed that the region must remain free of the consequences of unjustified attacks and emphasize dialogue, diplomacy, and de escalation in a manner that contributes to entrenching security and stability at the regional and international levels. Kalibaf says Iranians killed by the US and Israel will not go unavenged. State media. Iranian Parliament Speaker Mohammad Bakir Kalibaf says that Iranians killed during the US-Israeli war on the country, including the assassinated Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei, will not go unavenged. In comments carried out by the broadcaster, he pledged that Iran will devote all its capabilities to securing the rights of the Iranian people, ending the aggression, punishing the aggressor, and upholding the country's honor and standing. Iran Deputy Foreign Minister slams deluded Trump's declaration of Hormuz Strait as American territory. Iran's Deputy Foreign Minister Kazim Garibabadi has slammed an image posted by US Trump on social media which shows the Strait of Hormuz as new US territory. Just as Trump correctly wrote the name of the eternal Persian Gulf, soon his delusion regarding the Strait of Hormuz will either be corrected or we will correct the delusions of this deluded man. Trump declares Strait of Hormuz US territory on social media. Social media post. Trump is just making nonsense claims always. Not this. So China opposes unlawful measures carried out by US and Israel against Iran. Iranian state media. We recorded almost 37 minutes now, 40. We're reaching 40 minutes and then will be remaining more 20 minutes. Let's keep going. We are just getting starting here on this channel. And we have to move forward. So Chinese ambassador to Iran has publicly opposed the US and Israel's actions against Iran, terming them unlawful measures. Iranian state news agency. The ambassador has said that Chinese President Xi Jinping submitted 4 initiatives to the UN to preserve and promote peace and stability in the Middle East. Mediators waiting for Oman-Iran bilateral agreement on Hormuz before broader US-Iran talks, Qatar. Mediators are waiting for Oman and Iran to reach a bilateral agreement on the Strait of Hormuz before returning to broader US-Iran talks, Qatar's foreign ministry spokesperson said. An agreement regarding the Hormuz would make it much easier to resume the US-Iran talks. South Korea involved in consultation with the US over freedom of navigation in Hormuz. South Korea says that it has been involved in the consultations with the US and other partners over freedom of navigation in the Strait of Hormuz and possible military contribution. Seoul has reviewed the practical military contributions it could make while taking into account its defense readiness and domestic legal procedures, National Security Advisor told the reporters. Kalibaf says Hormuz to remain closed until US meets MOU conditions. The Strait of Hormuz will remain closed until the US meets the conditions of the interim deal with Iran, including lifting the naval blockade and sanctions, as well as the release of Iran's frozen assets, says Iran's parliament speaker. Let me state clearly, until the commitments made by the US in the Memorandum of Understanding, including the lifting of blockade, the release of frozen assets, the lifting of oil sanctions, the end of threats and military operations on all fronts, and other conditions to which America agreed in a memorandum are implemented, the strait will not be opened. Most Gulf markets muted as Iran tensions keep investors wary. Most Gulf stock markets were subdued in early trade today as escalating US-Iran tensions keep investors cautious, although higher oil prices have supported energy shares in Saudi Arabia Dubai's benchmark index has fallen 0.3% with most sectors in negative territory. Dubai Islamic Bank has lost 0.8% while Emirates Integrated Telecom, known as DO, Emirates Integrated Telecom, known as DO, has declined 2%. Abu Dhabi's benchmark index slipped 0.3%, weighed down by healthcare, real estate. उधर से ऊपर जाओ आप, वो लिफ्ट से ऊपर जाओ, लिफ्ट से ऊपर जाओ, हाँ ऊपर जाओ ऊपर, कोई भी वो सेंटर वाला बटन दबाओ, उधर वो बटन दबाओ, नीचे नीचे नीचे, हाँ. Abu Dhabi's benchmark index slipped 0.3%. ये आ गया. Saudi Arabia's benchmark index rose 0.3%, supported by gains in materials, energy, and financial stocks. We recorded now 41 minutes, now remaining almost 20 minutes. Houthis target refinery in southern Saudi Arabia. China's fuel exports rebound towards pre-war levels. China's refined fuel exports rose in July from the previous month as Beijing eased restrictions imposed after the Iran war disrupted oil supplies through the Strait of Hormuz. Exports of refined petroleum products, including diesel, petrol, jet fuel, and marine fuel, reached 4.6 million tons in July, up 6.7% from June, but still 12% lower than a year earlier. China, a major fuel supplier to Asia, imposed strict export control in March to protect its domestic market from an oil price shock after the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. Beijing eased the restrictions in July and again in August, approving exports above pre-war levels. Arakchi accuses Israel of sabotaging US-Iran ceasefire. Abbas Arakchi has accused Israel of actively sabotaging diplomacy, describing the country as the primary obstacle to a lasting ceasefire deal with the US. The Zionist regime was and remain the biggest opponent and obstacle to the implementation of the Memorandum of Understanding. They made every effort to prevent such an agreement from being reached, every effort to make this agreement fail, and every effort to prevent it from being implemented. Arakchi added that Trump's demand for an unconditional surrender from Iran failed to materialize as Tehran ultimately accepted a ceasefire and conducted negotiation with the US on its own terms. Let's see the next news. Very important news from Pakistan. Pakistan condemns unprovoked Israeli attacks on Syria air base. The Foreign Office on Wednesday strongly condemned the unprovoked attack carried out by Israel on an airbase in Syria, saying such acts had the potential to further undermine regional peace and stability. Syria's state-run Akhbariya television, citing a military source, said on Tuesday that Israel carried out 8 airstrikes on the runway and storage facilities at the Abu al-Zohar base near Aleppo in northwest Syria. A separate military source and a civilian who lived near the base said there were no casualties. Such provocative actions constitute a flagrant violation of international law and have the potential to further undermine regional peace and stability. Pakistan expressed its unwavering solidarity with the brotherly people of Syria and reiterates its full support for the sovereignty and territorial integrity as well as peace and prosperity of the Syrian Arab Republic. Pakistan also called on the international community to play its role in ending repeated violations of international law by Israeli occupation forces and to hold them accountable for their destabilizing actions in the region. U.S. envoy to Syria Tom Barrack said on Tuesday it was confirmed that Israel carried out the strikes on the airbase in Idlib province. The attacks constitute an unnecessary escalation that does not advance regional stability. Barak, a business friend of President Trump, who is also ambassador to Turkey, wrote on X. We encourage all parties to prioritize logical discourse over the further military incidents. The strike marked extraordinary defense by Israel of the US by Israel of the US, which has sought to support Syria's new government allied with Turkey. Israel and Syria Israel and Syria agreed to a status quo in security matters, which Syria was on verge of breaching by permitting Turkish troops to deploy at an airbase near Aleppo. Prime Minister Netanyahu's office said in a statement after a day of official silence by Israel. Israel repeatedly warned Syria that such a deployment would pose a threat to Israel's security. Syria chose to ignore these warnings, said the statement, which stopped short of acknowledging Israeli responsibility. Syrian Foreign Minister Assad al-Shibani called for the attacks to stop, saying Israel should recalculate its position towards Syria because it was confronting not only Damascus but also Syria's allies. These attacks don't have security justifications. We will continue in our diplomatic path to dissuade Israel from this policy and to force it to stop its attacks on Syria, he said at a press conference with International Atomic Energy Agency Chief Rafael Grossi in Damascus. Meanwhile, the Turkish government slammed Israel's remarks in a statement on Wednesday, quoting by Anadolu state news agency. The frivolous allegations put forward by the Israeli Prime Minister's office aim to legitimize Israel's unlawful airstrikes targeting Syria's sovereignty and territorial integrity. The base, about 70 kilometers east of the Turkish border, has been out of service as a dedicated military airfield since 2013 and changed hands several times during Syria's 14-year civil war between forces loyal to former President Bashar and opposition factions. Israel has repeatedly struck Syrian forces since Assad was ousted in 2024. It has so far attacked mostly government sites in southern and central Syria, most recently in March. PM directs Petroleum Minister to travel to Karachi, hold talks with oil refineries for reducing diesel prices. Digital platforms need take Pakistan's specific circumstances into account. Digital platform needs take Pakistan's specific circumstances into account, Minister tells Google delegation. Terrorist attempts to impede Balochistan's development will be foiled at all costs, Zardari tells CM Bukti. Turkey's Fidan invites Dar to attend meetings in Istanbul with Saudi Egypt foreign ministers. Let's see this news. This news also from Pakistan. Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan on Wednesday invited Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Ishaq Dar to attend the upcoming regional four foreign ministers meeting in Istanbul later this month. According to the Foreign Office, the development came as Dar spoke with Fidan by telephone, during which they exchanged views on recent regional developments and discussed efforts to promote regional peace and stability. Fidan invited Dar to attend the upcoming Regional 4 Foreign Minister meeting of Pakistan, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and Egypt. Fidan invited Dar to attend the upcoming Regional 4 Foreign Ministers meeting of Pakistan, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and Egypt to be held in Istanbul later this month. So, the Foreign Ministers meeting from Turkey, Pakistan, Saudi, and Egypt will be held in Istanbul end of this month. Dar accepted the invitation and confirmed his participation in the meeting. He added, the exact date of the meeting was not immediately clear. The two had also spoken last week and exchanged views on the evolving regional situation and welcomed the encouraging progress towards an understanding between the US and Iran. Sudan has expressed hope that these positive developments would pave the way for lasting peace and stability in the region. The meeting in Istanbul comes as negotiations between the US and Iran have stalled as the nearly 6-month-old war grinds on with little sign of resolution. The foreign ministers of the four countries had held two meetings ahead of the announcement of the April ceasefire between the two sides. The first meeting was held in Riyadh on the sidelines of a consultative ministerial meeting, while the second meeting was held in Islamabad. Both meetings were held in March. The ministers of all four countries had last met in June, with the countries welcoming the signing of the Islamabad Memorandum between the US and Iran. We are just more 9 minutes away from closing our live. Pakistan extends airspace ban on Indian aircraft until September 24. Every month, Pakistan is extending the ban on the flights. Pakistan has extended its airspace ban on Indian aircraft for until September 25, according to a notice to airmen issued by the Pakistan Airport Authority. The extension comes as the previous restriction was due to expire on August 23. Pakistan airspace not available for Indian registered aircraft and aircraft operated or leased by the Indian Airlines operators, including military flights. The NOTAM issued early on Wednesday. According to the NOTAM, the extension took effect on August 23 at 10:15 a.m. and will remain in force until 24 September. The country's airspace is divided into two flight information regions, Karachi and Lahore, according to a Pakistan Civil Aviation Authority. From 2022, the NOTAM applies to the both Karachi and Lahore. India and Pakistan closed their airspace to each other's airlines in late April 2025 when tensions between them escalated in the wake of a deadly attack in Indian-occupied Kashmir, Pahalgam. On April 24, Pakistan's top brass had announced a series of measures including the closure of its airspace to all India-owned or Indian-operated airlines with immediate effect as it retaliated against New Delhi's slew of aggressive measures against the country. Since then, Pakistan has extended the ban several times. New Delhi, without evidence, had alleged that Islamabad backed the attack. However, Pakistan had strongly denied any involvement and offered a neutral probe. The nuclear powers had the fiercest air battle in May, in which Pakistan said it downed 7 Indian fighter jets. Almost 5 more minutes to close our life. US South Korea cut annual war games short after Trump criticism. Annual war games between South Korea and the US will end around a week earlier than planned, both countries said on Wednesday, after US President Trump ordered the inappropriate and hostile drills scaled back. Trump said on Sunday that he had told the Pentagon to curtail the annual Freedom Shield exercise a day before they started, citing his good relationship with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. Pyongyang's state media criticized the drills on Wednesday as a most immediate and open threat without mentioning Trump's order. Hours later, Seoul's military said the drills would wrap up on Friday, not on August 27. We have decided to adjust the exercise period to run from the 17th to 21st, South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff said. The decision was made at the suggestion of the US side. The Pentagon said the substantially reduced drills would preserve essential readiness and cause no degradation of US training objectives. The exercises are designed to prepare for a possible attack by North Korea. They were understood to consist of two phases. The first focused on defending against potential North Korean threats was due to run until Friday, and the second focused on a counter-offensive from August 24 27. The second phase is now understood to have been scrapped. A South Korean military official told AFP that Seoul viewed the decision as unusual. Nuclear-armed North Korea has nuclear-armed North Korea has long voiced outrage at the exercises, considering them dress rehearsals for an invasion. Wednesday's commentary by the state-run Korean Central News Agency said they pose the most immediate and open threat to North Korea and regional security. It did not mention Trump's order or his desire to resume talks with Kim, with whom he has hinted at being in contact. Hong Min, a senior researcher at the Korea Institute for National Unification, said Pyongyang had deliberately avoided mentioning Trump. North Korea was sticking to general principles as if completely unaware of Trump's comments. Showing awareness could suggest a degree of mutual understanding, but feigning ignorance signals that the issue could become a key bargaining point in any future talks with Trump. Much safer. In the initial announcement on his Truth Social platform, Trump described the drill as unfriendly towards a country that had been respectful to him. South Korea's Foreign Minister told lawmakers on Wednesday that Seoul had not been informed in advance of Trump's plan to downsize them. Neither our government nor US government officials knew in advance what President Trump revealed via Truth Social. Trump has insisted that he is making the situation much safer through his ties with Kim. Asked on Monday whether Kim had responded to his request for a conversation, Trump said yes. He said the discussions had been very positive, but provided no further details. There has been persistent speculation that Washington could seek renewed talks with Pyongyang ahead of November US midterm elections. Yang Mo-jin, former resident of the University of North Korean Studies. For Trump, a meeting with Kim Jong-un could offer a chance to secure a foreign policy legacy. The Wall Street Journal reported on Tuesday, citing unnamed US officials, that Trump is pushing aides to set up a meeting with Kim as soon as this autumn. Reducing exercises could have a positive impact on the possibility of US-North Korea dialogue. The suspension of joint exercises has always been a prerequisite for North Korea to engage in dialogue with the US. Trump and Kim met 3 times in his first spell in the White House, but they have not held talks during his second term. The US stations about 28,000 troops in South Korea to bolster the country's defense, a legacy of the 1950 and 53 Korean War that ended with an armistice rather than a peace treaty. Trump has repeatedly criticized long-standing US alliance, casting doubt on Washington's commitment to security in East Asia and alarming regional partners. We are just now ready to close after 1 hour recording. So these are the local and international news from today. Let's see tomorrow what happens. Supreme Court acquits remaining 3 accused in 2014 Court Radhakishan case. So there is no more. There are more local news, but we have already recorded 1 hour. So after 1 hour, we are going to close our live. We read the news from Khalij Times, from Dawn News, and from, let's see, the BBC. BBC says Pakistan condemns the Israeli attacks in the Syria. There are many more. Google also opened their office in Islamabad, Pakistan. Welcome to Pakistan. The Google just opened its first office in Pakistan, in Islamabad. So we have now completed 1 hour recording. Completed 1 hour recording. Now it's time to close our live. See you tomorrow.